nature's comfort. Ramraj presents bamboo cotton white shirts.
South India's #1 travel brand. You know you are special when you're with GT Holidays.
The Chennai Silk let the celebration begin.
Hello and welcome to Galatta Plus. In this video review episode, we are going to be talking about Bala's Vanangaan with Arun Vijay. The film is not bad, but I felt it needed to dig deeper. It has interesting characters, interesting plot points, but they don't come together as well as you'd hope. The rest of this review contains spoilers, so watch at your own discretion. The opening shot of Vanangaan has a man bringing out a statue of Lord Ganesha that has fallen into a well. He has saved God, in other words. The closing shot of Vanangaan is a mirror image. It has the same man, the same well, but this time he is bringing out something else. I cannot reveal what this is, but we get a hint early in the movie in G.V. Prakash's beautiful song Ire Nooru. Lyricist Karthik Neta writes, "Kadavulai kaapatra manidan undu, manidanai kaapatra kadavul undo." There is always a man to save God, but is there a God to save man? My translation is clumsy, but this is the film's existential crux, and in a way, you can say that this has been the existential crux of every Bala movie. The last Bala movie was Nachiyar in 2018. Somehow in my book, Varma doesn't count. So the 7 years in between have given some much needed distance from this creator's work, and even though the beats of Vanangaan are familiar, I enjoyed the world building in the first half with the typically offbeat Bala characters. The writing follows a clean classical structure. The God concept is introduced first. Along with Ganesha, there is also a church. Then we get to meet the protagonist Koti, played by a very convincing Arun Vijay. We see the playful and deep bond between Koti and his sister Devi, played by an excellent Rida. And then we discover that Koti cannot hear and speak, and that he can be a powerful savage when he sees injustice, like Vikram in Pitamagan. Then we meet Koti's love interest, Tina, played by Roshni Prakash, and so forth. With the exception of Devi, the characters have those wonderful quirks that only Bala can think of. Tina speaks multiple languages, and her mother wants her to open a restaurant in London. There's a priest who lends himself to a very funny Shivaji Ganeshan joke. Yes, there are some issues in the first half. Cinematically speaking, this is one of Bala's weaker works. The film is crude with apparently no concept of staging. Many scenes give the feel that they were shot in a hurry. The junior artists, many of them foreigners, are awful. Then there's the suggestion that Tina likes getting beaten up by Koti almost in a kinky way. Look, I'm the last person to judge other people's BDSM fantasies, and I get that Koti is gender neutral when it comes to bashing up people who annoy him. But the violence here feels sadistic and strange, like an affectation rather than something that truly reflects someone's character. The entire first half is a build-up to the interval where Koti commits a crime. This involves molesters. Their deeds are captured through a camera that shows us their point of view, and this is a deeply squirm-making stretch. On the one hand, this point of view is valid because it shows us how girls that we view as people are reduced to mere bodies, naked bodies, by molesters. On the other hand, there's a question of how much and how many of these naked bodies do we really need to see in order to get this point. Also, Koti has a brutal fight sequence with a bunch of men who harass some trans women. Then he has a brutal fight sequence with the people who run a bar. So by the time we get to the third brutal fight at interval point, the point where we should really feel the brutality of the fight, the shock effects wear off, and it seems like more of the same. With all this, the first half is still not bad. At interval point, we sit with the question of where is the second half going to go? And this is where Bala is unable to decide whether to go inward or outward. Now, going outward implies external stuff like finding out yet another criminal, yet another brutal fight, the scenes with the judge, sharply played by Miskin, and melodrama between Koti and his sister. Samudra Kani has a lovely role as a cop who employs rough tactics but who is also someone who thinks with his heart. On the other hand, going inward is the only way to do justice to the premise which appears derived from a Kannadasan classic. A doctor here quotes, "Ullam என்பது ஆமை, அதில் உண்மை என்பது ஊமை." The heart is like a tortoise whose shell is snapped tightly shut, tightly holding the silent truths inside. Koti won't open up to anyone about his crime because if he did, then other differently able people would be affected. He understands their plight better than anyone else. You can convert an existential question into a song, but how do you convert it into a mainstream movie? This is where, for all its strengths, Vanangaan suffers. Bala does some really interesting things. For instance, when a violent man has a sister, you think she'll be the one who's molested, but her sufferings are of a completely different kind. We all know by now that Bala loves to shock us and make us weep, but in his best works, these feelings of shock and sorrow are earned. In Vanangaan, the many bits don't come together satisfyingly, and the big existential question at the center around Koti's silence doesn't weigh on you like it should. Even at 2 hours, the film seems stretched, but it does give you something to think about, and these days, I guess that itself is some kind of success. And that's it about Vanangaan. If you like this video review, do subscribe to Galatta Plus, and see you soon at the movies.
Nature's comfort. Ramraj presents bamboo cotton white shirts.
South India's #1 travel brand. You know you are special when you're with GT Holidays.
தமிழரின் பாரம்பரிய திருவிழாவை கொண்டாடுவோம் புத்தாடை பொங்கலோடு. The Chennai Silks let the celebration begin.